watch Flood, YouTube, Instagram influencer about her journey into finding God. You don't want to miss this episode. So tune in, hit the like, subscribe, and share button. Let's get it. Welcome, y'all, to the Open for Discussion podcast. I am your boy, C. Maurice Ball, and I am truly excited about the young lady that I have as a guest today. She is an amazing, phenomenal woman of God doing big things out here in this internet world, and I'm pretty sure she's a major influence in her city, in her neighborhood, and everything. With that said, we're going to get this party started. Let's hit that intro.
I was jamming.
Hey, we trying to get this party started. You know what I'm saying? Hey, this we're gonna be turned up all night, at least for an hour and a half. We're gonna be turned up. I love the energy. I love the curly joint.
The curl stage?
Yeah. I see you out of these streets. Get the curly Q on. So how you been? How you doing?
I'm well. Oh my gosh, I just had a praise and worship session, so I'm feeling real good, you know.
I'm sure I kind of peeped that on you, like looking at your videos and stuff like that. I was like, oh yeah, I bet she be going in.
What?
I bet she be.
I don't play. I don't play.
I'm that dude too. Like when it comes to worship, I'm sprawled out. I'm on the ground. I'm on my knees. I ain't got nothing that I can't get messed up for God.
And I know that's right. That's the only way to do it.
Right.
Like, tissues by the bed and everything. Just
all in, crying and all kind of stuff. So let me introduce who you are and how we met and how she became a guest on the Open for the Discussion podcast. It's really crazy to me. And you miss 100% of the shots that you never take, right? So I'm looking at YouTube and I see this video pop up in my feed, and it had a catchy title, and I was like, okay, let me see what she's saying. So I listened to the video and I was like, yo, I like how she presents the gospel. I like her authenticity. I like her compassion behind, like, she really truly wants to help people. And I am like, man, like, wow. I watched a couple of more videos, and then I said, okay, I would love to have her on the Open for Discussion podcast. So guess what I did?
What'd you do?
I kind of I ain't Facebook stalker. I stalked her. I was like, okay, let me see if I can find her anywhere. And she has a link to her IG. So I jumped in IG and I shot her a message, kind of introducing myself, because it's kind of creepy when you got somebody just sliding your DMs and stuff like that, you know. So I wanted to make sure that that it wasn't like I was coming off some weirdo creepy dude or something like that.
Right, and you didn't.
And so I asked her. I kind of said who I was and what I do, and she responded, and I was like, yo, okay. And then we kind of went back and forth a little bit through there, and I kind of explained to her the platform of what we do here on Open for Discussion, creating authentic conversation and with the desire, with the hopes of people pursuing their God-given purpose through these authentic conversations. She was like, okay. Um, then we kind of talked back and forth. Then we spoke, so we it would be awkward. Like this would be our first time talking to each other. And I was
Right.
like, yo, I just dig her vibe and her spirit, and I think she's going to be an amazing resource to to my community, to her community. And without further ado, let me introduce you to this amazing woman of God, Taj Floyd.
Flood.
I said your last name right. Flood, right?
Flood. Yeah.
Flood. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What God
Flood.
used to he flooded the earth. That's me. That's
Oh,
me.
the cover the earth.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is such an honor.
So
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so excited. Thank you for
I
having
am
me.
excited too. Like we both kind of been like, yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm super excited. And so she's just a ball of joy. And I am really just really looking forward to spending this time with you and really letting people get connected to your story, because I what I see is the same thing that everybody else sees. They see your YouTube, they see the views and the likes and the followers, but they don't see the story behind that.
Yeah.
So we not gonna just jump right into that. But so how you doing? What's good? What's popping?
What's popping? Well, I will say, look, I don't want to be cheesy and say God is popping, but I'm not gonna lie, he's moving. He's moving in my life. It's so
Okay.
crazy. I just recently had somebody reach out and talk about how they really were impacted by one of my videos, and he just really wanted an intimate conversation with me, and so I helped him out. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I was able to talk to you. Thank you so much." And it was just eye opening to see how God can really use you in a certain avenue and place you in front of people and really help them. Because, like I wasn't expecting that to happen. And that happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, he's been moving and I just love it.
That's so dope when you know God creates those divine appointments.
Yeah.
Those are some amazing moments. So
Yeah.
so tell me a little, tell this audience a little bit about you. You're a HBCU grad. Where was you
Ooh.
born? Where was you raised? What was life like for you growing up? What's going on?
Okay. Okay. So I am one of six on my dad's side. My dad is actually Muslim. My mom is Christian.
Mm,
She's a PK. So I grew up learning about Islam and Christianity. I was born in South Carolina, raised in North Carolina. I'm back in South Carolina now. So yeah, like I said, I grew up learning about two different faiths, but I gravitated more towards Christianity. I'm not going to say that I was learning about Christianity. I just gravitated more towards it because I could see my mom's faith as
mm.
she was, maneuvering through life. And my dad was more so of, you can't do this, you can't do that. I said, this is not fun. I can't. So, as a kid, you don't really know the technicalities and the legal stuff that's going on. You just like, I can't do anything over here, but I can do stuff over here. So I didn't really know much, but I knew that my mom was like, pray when things go wrong. God is always with you. Talk to God, this, that, and the third. So that's pretty much as far as my faith. But I will say that because I didn't know the technicalities of the faith and what it's really about. When I gave
Uh-huh.
my life to Christ, it was this thing where I was like, this is just something I'm supposed to do. But I was very much lukewarm. You know it, lukewarm, like you
Yeah.
still in the world, you still doing stuff you ain't supposed to be doing. And I had to figure things out the hard way, unfortunately. I made some mistakes and it brought me to my knees. And that's when I really, really gave my life to Christ and said, I need you to be the Lord of my life because by myself, this ain't
For
it.
sure. I totally agree. So as a young person being, so you were seeing two sides of two different coins.
Yeah,
So you were seeing an Islamic side, and you
right.
were seeing a Christianity side, but you was
Mhm.
also seeing the ins and outs of both of those through your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
how hard was it for you being that's kind of great. Daughter of a preacher's kid who was married to a Muslim.
So, so I guess I left out some information. They ended up getting divorced when I was really young. So I saw my dad every other weekend, and so I
Okay.
would learn about Islam every other weekend, and then I would be with my mom. For the majority of my time. So I did spend more time with my mom, and that might have played a part. But like I said, I didn't really connect to what my dad was trying to teach, I guess you could say. It was very
Uh-huh.
routine, like pray 5 times a day, you can't do this, you can't do that, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on, so it was very difficult. But I wanted to spend time with my dad because me and my dad were super super close until life hit him, and he separated himself from the children that were with him. So it was kind of challenging because I found different things that I related with him, and
Hmm.
one that was not one of those things. Like I was like, I can play basketball and I can do this and the third, but this Islamic thing, it's just we're not meshing, we're not clicking. I got to cover up my hair, and it was just a lot going on. It was just a lot as a kid. I'm like, this just feels weird. I'm living two different lives, and I don't know what's going on. I'm just going with the flow, I guess you can say.
And you know that it's one of those things that the person that has the most time control can control the narrative.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can understand that. So you say you a hooper?
I was
You
I was. Okay, so in middle school, I played basketball, but I tried out on accident, not on accident. I was playing in PE, and the coach saw me and was like, "Wow, you really got hops." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just doing something with this ball." I was tall for an eighth grader. And so my dad, I told him about it. I was like, Dad, they want me to try out. He's like, "Oh my gosh, do it." And at that time, my dad was like my best friend. So I'm like, "Oh, you want me to play basketball? Great." But I ended up getting bullied really, really, really bad because I was the tall girl. I
hmm
naturally have a athletic build, and I was
hmm
really good. So my name wasn't Taj or Taja, it was TJ, the basketball player, the boy. So I got called a boy for the longest, and I got bullied really, really, really bad, to a point to where I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I eventually went to high school, and I was going to try out if the coach went to the high school, because I went to the same, it was like Northeast High, Northeast Middle. So if he was going to go to the high school, I was going to go. But
hmm
no, I ended up dancing for the band instead because I was like, I can't be called a man for the rest of my life.
You know, so
Yeah.
that is and that's actually another avenue of something that you could probably speak to. So my day job, I run a leadership development um, mentorship program, and I go through around to schools and I talk to students, and I have three students right now who are almost as tall as I am. I'm 6'1",
Wow.
and they are eighth graders, and they're all at least 5'11".
Ooh,
Maybe one of them is 6 foot,
goodness.
and the self esteem issues that come from that of being tall.
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling them, like, right now you don't see it because you're tall and you
Yeah.
want to be short,
Right.
but in 10 years you're going to be glad that you're tall.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to really encourage them not to be ashamed of their height.
Yeah.
So I get that. Man, so we
I,
got a basketball player
yeah, I
on this
heard that
thing.
a lot. My dad would always say that, like, people pay for your legs, people pay for your arms. You tall, and you gonna want to be tall. And it's like, I don't want to hear that. I'm getting bullied. My last name is Flood, and I wear high waters, and they are going in on me.
So as a 12, 13-year old young lady,
Mhm.
what was I mean, being bullied, how did you handle that?
Um, so unfortunately, I'm not gonna say it wasn't a safe space to talk to my mom or dad. I just the people who were rocking with me, I just stayed close to them. And most of them were guys. I was getting picked
Okay.
on by the girls and the guys I gravitated towards. And I put my anger in basketball. I feel like that's why I was so good. But unfortunately, my dad, he had a bad temper and I get my temper from him. I'm working on, well, not even I'm working on it. I've gotten so much better. I'm not going to lie. I got so much better because Jesus. Woo! But
Hey, we got to celebrate the small steps, right?
yeah,
We got.
yeah. So
Hey, I didn't use a compound cuss word today, so hey, that's progress.
literally. So unfortunately, I had a bad temper. So I would actually hit my pillows to like really let go of my anger because I used to hit my siblings. Being 100% transparent, like I was not good with my words, and being that I was getting bullied, I was too afraid of my parents to fight in school. So I would take it out on my siblings if they cracked just one too many jokes, like I would hit them, or I would in practice I would just really go hard. I was a starter, so I was
Mm.
just on the court like really like, nah, y'all really gonna get this work because I'm getting bullied and I can't do anything about it right now. So yeah, I would put it in the sport for sure.
Well, that's at least you found an outlet, and I think one of the hard things as a young person is finding that outlet
Yeah.
because the kids I deal with, they gangster, they fight, they throw hands, and I'm trying
That
to
came
tell
a
them you
little
can't
later. That
fight
came a little
all the
later.
time, you know. So, so were you growing up and you seeing two sides of the spectrum?
Hmm.
Were you also bullied for your religion, or did you kind of conform to what was going on around you? How was you at a young age? It's very difficult to be solid in your walk. So how'd you deal with that?
So I actually got bullied by one guy about my dad being Muslim, but that was his last time doing that. It was in fifth grade, and I actually fought him, unfortunately. And that's when I found out this is before I got bullied. So I actually fought him. I slung him around, all this, that, and the third. Like it was really, really bad. I waited until daycare to do that because I knew that I wouldn't be I had backup at daycare. But after that, my dad kind of like that's when life kind of hit him. So not many people knew that he was Muslim as I got older because he distanced himself. So it was more so of they always saw me at church. They knew my mom wasn't. They were divorced, so they didn't really see much of that side. I only got bullied once for the faith. But of course, my close knit friends, they knew, like, oh, because my dad, if he picked us up or anything, he would wear a kufi. So they would ask, oh, what's that on his head? So, but it was never like a bullying type situation, except for that one time, that one and last time that that boy did
So
that.
so once they knew that you could throw those hands, they backed up.
Okay, they didn't bother me no more. No more.
But that's how you stop a bully, though. Hey, you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta you gotta go beat somebody up.
I, I found that out and I was like, I feel like that's where my temper came from because after that incident, I felt bad because my mom was kind of like, why did you do that to that boy? And so when I went into middle school and I was getting bullied, I didn't want to fight in school because my mom was so disappointed in that time in fifth grade. And so then when this girl pulled my hair on the bus and the entire bus jumped her. And all of a sudden all of a sudden she respected everybody. And in my eyes, I'm like, oh, so you fight to get respect. That's what you do.
Right.
Okay, bet. So if anybody messes with me, it's on sight. And I feel like from then on, it was a situation where it's like, I don't really do much talking. And it created a monster in me because I already got my dad's temper. So it's like, okay, drop your pen. We don't have to talk anymore. And I said, Lord, thank you for saving
Come on. That's a shout. We're gonna take a praise break. You know, and so as you matriculated through high school, was it as you start to, form a identity?
me. Hmm.
Um, what was some of the hardships that you faced? Freshman, sophomore, junior year. What were some of the things that because you were going to church, right?
Yeah, I was still going to church.
So you was in church,
Hmm.
Were you known as the church girl? You know how we do as young people.
Right. Absolutely not. So honestly, a lot of people didn't know that my mom was a PK. She didn't really tell people. No one really knew because we were in North Carolina and my grandfather and my grandmother were in South Carolina. So our lives were really based in North Carolina, in the North
Hmm.
Carolina area. And so in high school, what happened was, like I said, I didn't play basketball. I ended up joining the dance team. And I only joined the dance team because a basketball player who I got really close with asked me to join the dance team. So I ended up joining the dance team and I was on the team with the girls who bullied me.
Ah,
And and so, but they had to respect me because now we're on the same squad.
right.
And I I don't really like attention. I can't stand it. And I feel like it came from the fact that I got bullied and I got so much negative attention. So when I get attention, it kind of like, but I ended up on the front row in the dance team. So I was really good at dancing. My dad always told me, every time you do something, you're really good at it. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, like, you're really good at it. So my high school career was actually like, I got really, really good grades. I was in the National Honor Society. So it was, the bullying kind of stopped. I got called a man here and there, but it wasn't really that bad as it was in middle school. So I was able to
Then you became the
navigate.
popular person, the popular girl.
Yeah, I was kind of like how my sister was on the on the cheer squad. So it's like, the Flood sisters. Now we're the Flood sisters, and they like,
Right.
okay, y'all popping. But I was still that kind of shy girl. I always wanted to do the right thing though. So I did have a couple friends who wanted to go to the parties and stuff. My mom would always come in my room like, "Are you okay? Like, do you want to go out?" And I'm like, "No, I'll sit at home. I'm a homebody." Like I love reading books. I love studying. Like I
Okay.
wanted to make sure, like that was me in high school. It was like the popular geek kind of like it was like I really loved doing the stuff that people didn't really want to do and the stuff people wanted to do. I wasn't really interested in. Like I went to my very first party in 11th grade and I called my mom like, please come pick me up. I don't want to be here. Like it's
Ah,
really weird.
so you kind of rolled that out through high school,
Mhm.
but what happened when you got to college? Uh,
Ooh, wee. Oh my goodness. I talked to my mom about this the other day. Actually, I was like, I really wish I wasn't as sheltered as I was because when I got to college, baby, buck
turn.
wild. Okay. I went to East Carolina. I started at ECU. So I went to East Carolina University and then I transferred after my freshman year to North Carolina A&T State University, Aggie Pride. Um,
Aggie
but it
pride.
was, yeah, it was
HBCUs in the building.
HBCU in the building. Come on. I know I'm light skinned. I'm a little pale, but don't do me. But in college it was very wild. Um I was still about my studies, but I was doing some stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing. I got introduced to freedom. And I was like, ain't nobody on my back really telling me don't do this, don't do that. So I'm like, okay, like let's have some fun. Oh, okay, this is what college parties are like. Okay, let's play that shit. Like it was just oh girl,
Hold on.
relax.
Did you call your mom and tell her to come and get you from the college party?
No, absolutely not. And the only reason why I transferred from East Carolina is because my mom, she never gets sick. Ever, not even like a common cold. And she ended up in the ICU. And so I was
Mm.
like, I wasn't driving at the time because, like I said, I was sheltered. So I wasn't even the type of person to get my license. Like, I'm good without a car. That's how much of a homebody I was. So I ended up coming home and I was like, I'm going to transfer back home to Greensboro because I want to be close to my mom. And I ended up going to A&T. So yeah, I didn't really care for A&T. I'm not going to lie. I know I'm saying Aggie Pride, but that's because I graduated from there. But I liked ECU better. I might hurt some feelings, but I'm sorry.
So, what was your major? What did you study in
So
in?
it was fashion merchandising with a minor in business. So yeah, I was really into fashion and clothes and I wanted to be
Okay.
a stylist, but that was just something that I did. Somebody kind of talked me into it because at first it was exercise physiology. Because when I was in high school, I tore my ACL and meniscus dancing. And
Mm.
when I went to physical therapy, I was like, y'all get paid to just bend people's legs and arms. I said, I can do this. So trying to please my dad again. It was exercise physiology. But when I saw that 4-year plan and saw all that chemistry, I said, no, I can do math. I love math, but science and chemistry,
Right.
absolutely not. So I switched to fashion merchandising because someone recommended it, and I actually liked it. I wanted to go to UNCG, but I missed the deadline, so I had to go to A&T. But yeah, it was fashion merchandising, and I want to say that I wish I never went to college, but I'm not going to say that because I do have a degree and I was able to network with individuals, and it was a great experience.
Hmm.
But I have yet to use it.
Well,
So,
so here's the thing with it though,
okay,
and with
talk
what
to
you're
me.
doing now,
Yeah,
you have the opportunity to create your own swag, your own thing,
true,
and
true.
put it out there. You know,
Yeah,
if it don't have to go to waste if you don't want it to,
yeah,
and it and maybe it's not now, maybe it's a season from now, maybe it's two seasons
yeah,
from now, but
yeah.
it's you have the information, and you have some swag. You know, you go through your IG, I'm like, okay,
You know,
you got some swag.
yeah. Look, I don't
So
like taking pictures like that. See, I don't really see how I be dressing, but I step now. I know how to step. You know.
hey, so here's the thing, like I was big into fashion as well.
Hmm.
Bef- I mean, I was big into fashion. That's how I
Okay.
got saved, honestly. I got
Really?
saved by looking at, so I was really into suits, and I was looking at the time I didn't know it was Creflo Dollar.
Hmm.
And so he had on this navy blue suit that had burgundy pinstripe, window pane pinstripes on it, with this sky blue tie shirt on with this burgundy tie and these brown shoes. And I was like, I'm turning the TV and I was like, yo, that brother cleaned in the mug.
Right.
And I'm sitting there looking and I'm like, oh, he talking about God. But he was talking about salvation, and he made it
Okay.
very, very plain and very, very easy to understand.
Nice.
And my mentor had asked me right after I seen that, hey, you know, do we having a family and friends day at church? Why don't you come? And I was like, okay. And when the pastor did the altar call, I was like, yo, I understand it. I ran down there
Wow.
and jumped in and got saved at 26, and been going hard ever since 26.
Wow. Okay, so when you got saved, you weren't lukewarm at all. Like
No,
you
no, no,
really
no.
submit.
So my you know, I got out, so I experienced, like, I wasn't raised in church. My dad didn't make me go to church. The only time I went to church was through my grandmother, who I only seen in the summer.
Mm,
And we had an option. Then we either stayed on she's had a farm. So we either stayed and did farm work, or we went
mhm.
to church. And this was early on. So early on, I was like, okay, I'll go to church. It just seems fun. But then I started getting in trouble for just being me. Like, my grandmother, old
Mm.
school, they whoop you in church, they pinch you in church. You
Ooh,
know, you couldn't do anything. So me and my cousins, it ain't it's about 50 of us, and we are here just being little gremlins and just, and
right.
so church wasn't real big. So I think I probably went to church in high school maybe 4 times.
Wow.
Then when I went to college, I can tell you I didn't go to church at one time in college.
Wow.
And then when I moved out to San Diego, nope. I didn't. You know, I lived the life that most heathen, unsaved people live. I was
Okay.
wilding. I was out in these streets wilding,
Come
and
on.
loved the streets. And you know, because people tell you, you know, as the church will have you to think that sin is not fun.
Right. Right.
And I'm just gonna leave that there. So
Right.
you know,
Come on.
you know, so but at 26, when I got saved at 26, I was all in, and I was like, you know what, God, I gave the world 100%. I
Yeah.
can't give you anything less than that. And so I've been
Wow.
riding since 26, and
I
that's
love
about
it.
20 25 years.
I love that. And I feel like that's something that's missing, I feel, as far
Mhm.
as like breaking down what salvation is in in simple terms where people understand what they're doing. Because like I said, when I got saved, it was just this, I felt a movement and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go down here and do this thing. But it was no direction and what that looks like and how you're supposed to walk and move now. So I'm out here doing what it is I'm supposed to do. I just got God connected to it. I go to church, I do what I want on the weekdays. And then when I go to church
Right.
on Sunday, it's like, praise the Lord. And yeah, it wasn't explained right.
And but I think that's where we fail as the church. One of my big things with churches, most churches, when they have a altar call or you start getting people saved, they put you through these growth tracks, right? You go grow
Yeah.
101, 201, 301, 401 in the church world.
Yeah.
And but you don't really learn about your relationship God with God until 401. So you done took all these
Mhm.
other classes about the church and the auxiliaries and ministries and all this other stuff, and you don't
Wow.
learn that that your relationship with God should be number one.
Yeah.
Understanding your salvation should be number one. I
Yeah.
could care less about serving in a ministry that if my heart's not right, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing the ministry any good anyway.
Right.
You know, so so you go through college
Yeah.
and you are
Straight.
doing you and doing God. At what point in your journey did did your relationship become real?
So I, I want to say it was. mm, I'm gonna say last year because the only reason why not last year, we're 2024, in 2022,
Right.
because I had opened up about this on my channel, but I had gone through my second abortion. And after that happened, I was like, kind of like you, where you said you gave the world 100%. I said,
Mhm.
I've been doing life by myself and just trying to have, asking you to bless my mess for so long, and I've made a decision twice now, and the enemy is really in my head and making me feel horrible about it. And just based off of me growing up learning about God, I know that I can get forgiveness, and I know that you're not going to hold this against me, but I don't know how to forgive myself, and I also don't know what this looks like. So I just asked, that's when I asked God for an undivided heart. I'm like, God, give me an undivided heart. I only want you. I don't want to make mistakes like this again that make me feel super icky. And so after that, that's when I decided to really live life for God. And all of a sudden, when I made that decision, naturally the things just started to change. Cussing just sounded like nails on a chalkboard to me. Like sex just wasn't, I'm not doing that. At first it was because I was scared to get pregnant again. But then after that, it was more so of, no, I'm in a relationship now. I counted the cost. I understand that when you're in a relationship and you find out something hurts someone, you don't do that anymore. So
Mm.
I began to realize, like, oh shoot, dang, I can't get drunk. I would get drunk and feel bad. And I would be like, why do I feel bad about the things that I used to do so easily now? And when I
Right.
began to read my Bible and learn, like, that's the Holy Spirit. Like, you're now in a covenant and you finally really welcome God into your heart. You didn't just say the sinner's prayer and just be like, oh, I accept Jesus. No, you really welcomed him in. And so now that you're in a covenant, when you do things and you sin against the Spirit, you feel guilty, you feel horrible, you feel bad. And so I learned about repentance, and I learned how to not do the things that the world says to do. Now, it was difficult because I still had friends. I'm like, do I cut them off? Do I still hang with them? Like, what do I do? And people look at you like, oh, you acting funny, you moving different. And I'm like, no, that's not it. I just love God now. Like, I'm really in a relationship with him. and I'm not lukewarm. And when I read about it, I said, wow, this whole time I was lukewarm and I had no idea. I just thought this is what it is that you do, because there's worldly people who are saying, I'm God's favorite. I'm getting the
Right.
blessings and I got the penthouse and I'm I'm God's child. And I'm like, okay, so am I God's child? Like, am I, do I still do what it is that they do? Like, what does that look like? So I'm just confused, but I open my Bible for myself. I read the word for myself. I start building a relationship. And that happened, like I said, in 2022.
So so it's recent.
That's recent. This is my
Wow.
strong walk is recent. At first, it was more so of, like I said, God help me, God I love you, God I'm sorry I did that, but I'm gonna still do what I want to do. Thank you for forgiving me. But 2022, it was no. I'm living for God, no matter what that looks like.
That I
So
love that. That is awesome. you know, and when um you say your friend, it's hard trying to be around people when you're changing because
yeah,
they don't give you the space to change. They want to keep you in the old one that gets turned up. If the party's going down, we know Taj coming in, we know Mo
yeah,
coming in, and we go. Hey, it's gonna be on 10. Um, and so what happens is that as you start to change, they don't think that it's real until they see that it's real,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and then it's your light, and then it's like, oh, you move different, oh, you do. No, it's just that I'm not interested in the foolishness anymore.
I
The
lost
stuff that I considered
interest
fun and the stuff that I considered, like, hey, let's go do X, Y, and Z, it's no longer appealing to me
at all.
at
At
all. And it
all.
and like you say, you got icky. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that is, you get the ick. It's
It's
like,
so
ugh,
it's
God.
yeah, and
Like,
it's when you don't know what that is, it's hard to explain. And when
right.
they begin to question, like, oh, you're changing, you begin to ask yourself, because you're still new to it. Like I said, I didn't have a strong foundation of understanding when it comes to salvation. So I
Hmm.
didn't even understand why I just naturally didn't want to cuss anymore, or if I drank, I felt bad, or if I did, like, I didn't know what was going on. So trying to explain to them, no, I didn't change it. I just don't like it anymore. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, trying to explain that to them, it's like, I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard because the examples that we have with good intentions don't really, because you see the backside of the example,
Yeah.
right? So you see the church on Sunday, club Saturday night, club Friday night, the all the inconsistencies. That was one of the things that kept me out of the church prior to me getting saved, was because
Mm,
the inconsistencies.
yeah.
The inconsistencies. So you said something also, that you had to forgive yourself.
Yes.
Now, how hard was that process on walking through what you've walked through to forgive yourself?
Ooh, it was super challenging, simply because for the longest I had been comparing myself to people. It was very easy for me because I got bullied, because I had sisters who were very successful and I was trying to find my way. I was comparing myself. So a lot of decisions that I made were due to the fact that I didn't want to be that girl who did that, or I didn't want to be looked at as this girl who did that. And so when I had to sit in my prayer closet and deal with the darkness that was inside of me and the past decisions that I made, I'm like, I don't know how I could forgive myself, because I went through this whole thing of, what if I forgive myself, but other people down me for what it is that I did? And God is like, you have to learn about who you are now in Christ and what I say about you. And what I say about you has to weigh more than what other people say. So it was a fight for me to forgive myself, because I was afraid that if I forgive myself, but other people still view me as that person, I'm not going to be able to handle it. And so when I had my talks with God, I had to really doctor up on the wounds that were really deep down and just very, deep. They weren't surface level at all. And when I got to know God for who he was, I got to know his heart instead of his hand. I began to realize, like, wow, when I pass, ain't none of y'all gonna be there when I when I'm in front of my father.
Right.
Hold on, wait, time out. So when I
Right.
really sat there and I'm sitting in my prayer closet talking to God, I'm like, okay, so if people judge me and they have certain opinions, why does that hold so much weight? And I began to ask myself the question of why. Why is it that you can't forgive yourself? Why is it that other people's opinions matter more than God's? Why is it, why this, why that? And so when I began to doctor up and ask the question why and answer it, I'm like, oh, yeah, you are not what you've done, and I was marrying. God knows how to separate the sin from the person. This is why he tells us to forgive other people. And when I was reading in Luke 22 where Satan entered Judas, and after Judas did his dirt, he hung himself because he felt so bad for what he did. God is like, you
Right.
have to understand that stuff, you did those things out of unexposed darkness. You weren't talking to me, you weren't holding my hand. I was there, but you weren't welcoming me in. So you did those things out of hurt and pain, but now you have me, and I need you to let those go, because when you died, or when you got saved, you died to your old self and now you're raised in Christ. So I need you to let that go, because you can't represent me in a way if you're still holding on to the past. So I had to have that conversation with God and really like get to the bottom of it, or I wouldn't have been able to show up as myself that I am today.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That is powerful. That is powerful. I love that story.